So what kind of results have you been seeing since you started working with us?
Yeah, I mean, to say the least, I mean, this year we've 5X'd our revenue since we started working with Understory. Being a founder, I think it's a no-brainer to recommend Understory to them. Our friends were talking about, and Understory was one that just came up over and over again in all our conversations.
All right, we're here with client and friend Sai. Sai is the CEO of Hyperbound, and Hyperbound is an incredibly cool tech platform. Sai, I'll let you talk about it yourself in a second, but tech platform that allows you to basically train your reps with simulated sales calls in your buyers' personas. But Sai, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about your business, who you are, and what Hyperbound does.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Alex. Excited to be here. Yeah, I run a company called Hyperbound. We essentially train salespeople at large enterprises, and we're training them from anywhere from cold calls to discovery calls to negotiations, and basically any type of customer-facing conversation. And we do that via AI role plays. So you pitch to the AI, or maybe you run a disco with the AI, and it will give you feedback and coaching on how well you're doing. So yeah, it's been a crazy last two journeys, and excited to talk about how Understory has helped us get here.
Love that. So yeah, talk to me about the paid media situation before you started working with us.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is there was no paid media situation when we started the company. So both my co-founder and I, we have zero experience with paid media, right? Never ran a campaign before in the past. We just needed something where we could just hit the ground running. And, we knew we had to go with the agency approach. And we approached a couple different agencies. And I think there's so many out there, but the most important thing to us was finding one that had success stories, that our friends were talking about, and some of our other founders friends, especially in Y Combinator, were finding success with. And Understory was one that just came up over and over again in all our conversations. And so that's how we found them.
Well, that skips my next question, which was what made you decide to start working with Understory? So it sounds like you had some references.
Yeah. I mean, it was references for sure. And I just think even the initial conversation with Understory was a lot more informed, from the bat. And what do I mean by that? I talked to so many different agencies, and they all have this long doc with all these promises that they make. And although they all sound enticing, it's almost easy to tell when someone's telling the truth versus someone is just kind of bullshitting. And I felt like the moment I started speaking with you and Ollie, it always felt like you were very transparent. You're very real about what's possible. It was never like you came in and gave us these like pie in the sky dreams, right? It was like you're very realistic, and you're like, hey, here's exactly what we're going to do for you, and here's how we're going to help you get there. And this is what we've seen in the past. Now every business is different. We feel confident that we can execute these 10 things for you. And so I just like the down-to-earthness and the reality that came through those conversations.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we're not going to sugarcoat anything. We're going to tell you the reallys, and we're going to get it done the best of our ability. So with that said, what does the process look like since we started working together? So what did we actually end up building for you?
Yeah, I mean, believe we started around 5-6 months ago now.
I think it's even closer. I think it's closer to a year at this point.
It's closer to a year. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, it might be. Yeah, we're starting to get to the 1 year point for sure. It's been a pleasure working with the team. I think what I really like is just how we have these weekly meetings, and the team is coming in prepared before those meetings. And in fact, they'll send like a summary report to me before every meeting, so I know exactly what to expect going in. And sometimes maybe I can't make it to the meeting, and in those cases, like, it's still nice to have something async that I can look back at. And I also like the effort that's put into aggregating all the results, right? Instead of just opening up like the ad portal or Looker dashboard like on the spot and trying to piece it all together. I like how you guys kind of summarize it into a deck before every meeting, and it just makes it very easy to get a holistic view of everything. And yeah, it's just you've got real professionals there, so it's been a pleasure.
I really appreciate that. So what kind of results have you been seeing since you started working with us?
Yeah, I mean, to say the least, I mean, this year we've 5X'd our revenue since we started working with Understory. And, a big part of that, obviously, we just raised our Series A this year. We're a growth stage company. There's a lot going on. And the paid ads situation was something that we were really, candidly, a little bit worried about before Understory came into the picture. We didn't really know where to start. We didn't know how much we're supposed to spend. We didn't know how long it would take us to get the types of results we wanted. You kind of gave us the guidance that we needed from day one, and it's been a pretty awesome ride so far.
Love to hear that. 5X in a year is insane. We hit 4X in a year. We're chasing you for 5 for next year, but hopefully we can get you even further than us. So, yeah. All right. So last question for you, Sai, but who would you recommend Understory to and why?
Being a founder, I'm connected to a ton of other founders out there, and especially the people from my YC batch. I was part of the summer 2023 batch. There's a ton of amazing people that are doing really well, and they're trying to figure out how to get to the next, stage in their startup journey. And I think it's a no-brainer to recommend Understory to them just because, when you're a startup, you don't have all the resources in the world, and having an agency that's willing to kind of be that additional arm for you, that is huge, especially in the early days. So yeah, mostly I'd say a lot of my Series A, Series B startup friends, I think they're really gonna love something like this.
That means a ton. I really appreciate that. Let's have an even bigger 2026.
Absolutely.